In such a short time, several new details have been added all around Universal Epic Universe, from the tent frame coming to life in the streets of Paris, to the blades installed on Burning Blades Tavern, the portal plate being installed on Super Nintendo World Portal, and the most exciting change, dragons have moved in to the dragon houses at the grandstands in How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Burk, with several other updates throughout Epic Universe, including the ones just mentioned. Let's dive in to this week's Universal Epic Universe Construction Update, with our aerial views provided to us as always by BioReconstruct. Starting this update in the new wizarding world of Harry Potter in the streets of Paris, where, in front of the entry portal to the land, significant progress has been made on the entry courtyard. A second circular courtyard has appeared since we last checked in, with several intriguing designs inside of the concrete. Just beyond the entry portal, in the courtyard between the entry portal and the replica arch, concrete is beginning to appear left and right of the entry portal, as well as preparation for concrete closer towards the replica arch going down into the exit of the land. Inside of the Parisian streets, the sidewalks and street continue to be poured, as well as in front of the entrance to the theater show. The tent frame is beginning to be erected, giving us the shape of the tent. The entrance to the show is located at the intersection of the 5 Parisian streets. Throughout the land, scaffolding is returning to several areas of the building facades. This is likely for additional painting and design work on the building fronts. The majority of the scaffolding has been erected on the street where the entrance to the feature ride is located. On top of the buildings, the chimney pots can still be seen being placed and prepared on every street top. High above the Parisian streets sits the Grand Helios Hotel, where the steel base of the dome, sitting high above the tower, has been completed and plywood has begun to be installed on the outside of the dome. On the exterior of the hotel, just in front of the bar and lounge, front and center high above the ground, a new large themed element has been placed overlooking Epic Universe. This themed element goes along with the celestial theming found all throughout Epic Universe. Just off to the side of the rooftop bar and lounge, where the ballroom is located, new large windows have been installed and are nearly complete on the Epic Universe side of the ballroom. The center windows are yet to be installed. In front of the Helios Grand Hotel, opposite of Epic Universe, good progress is being made in the hotel's pool area behind the bus stops. Column theming is beginning around the pool bar, seen at the coverings partly covering the main steel frame. Inside of the newly formed pool, steps have been formed next to the pool bar, giving guests quick access to refreshing drinks. The walls around the pool are being sculpted quickly and are as well nearing being fully complete. The walk-in section of the pool can now be seen with waterproofing in preparation for its concrete, which will complete the basin of the Helios Grand Pool. Between the pool and the hotel, there is also new foundation work beginning. Looking at the shape and placement, it seems like this foundation will be for dividing walls around the pool area. Neighboring the pool area of Helios Grand Hotel sits Dark Universe, where concrete walkways have made their way all the way throughout this land. As guests enter Dark Universe, the twisted pathway behind the entry portal, lined with gravestones, has been poured in concrete since our last update. The exit to the land can be seen with reinforcing rebar placed in preparation for the next pathway pour. Inside of the village, thought to be named Darkmoor, the streets have mainly been completed, except for directly around what is believed to be a well. Throughout the village, we can see the streets have been covered in plywood to protect them from construction that is still going on all throughout Dark Universe. Since last update, the concrete forms that surrounded what we believe to be a well has been removed, leaving a large, tall, circular concrete structure. Not only has the scaffolding returned to the streets of Paris, but it has also returned to the manor front, which again is likely for detailed painting. On the manor bridge, we can see plywood covering the newly installed detail work on the bridge, as well as what is underneath the scaffolding currently. On top of the manor, we can see curved metal being installed along the roof line. Inside of the tracks of Curse of the Werewolf, a second wagon can be seen installed next to the original wagon near the entrance to the queue for this coaster. Lastly, at Burning Blades, after seeing the scaffolding removed last update without any blades present, the blades have since been installed, giving the finished look. We were hoping to see this look last update, but it is still good to see them now. As we exit Dark Universe, directly to the left is the Blue Dragon Pan-Asian restaurant, where several of the walkways around this dining location are taking shape. Several additional walkways can be seen with curbing between the Blue Dragon and the dedicated entrance to Epic Universe for the Kelios Grand Hotel. The pathways in front of the dining location looks as though they are winding through a forest of trees, similar to the forest found inside of Dark Universe. To the right of the exit to Dark Universe sits Celeste Tiki Bar, where the initial roofing has been completed. The bar on the inside has started to be framed out as well. This bar overlooks the main show fountain in Epic Universe, where the handicap accessible ramps look to be completed, making their way down to the fountain from the upper levels of Celestial Park. Several of the covered structures around the main show fountain look to have their roofing just about complete as well. The waterfall that feeds the main show fountain has rockwork lining this waterfall, which is beginning to be painted and looks as though has been nearly completed in the week since we've last touched base. Another structure overlooking the main show fountain is Meteor Astropub, where there is some interesting wall framing taking place on all sides of this structure. The painting of the ribs for Constellation Carousel continues, as well as the work on the inside of the dome on top of the ride platform. Astronomica has not seen much progress, as the concrete work looks as though it has been stagnant since the last time we've checked in. Just outside of the Super Nintendo World portal, another kiosk has started to go vertical inside of one of the Octagon foundations. At the dueling launch coaster of Starfall Racers, landscaping has been completed below the comet theming at the front of the coaster. New concrete forms have been placed on the outside of the tracks that are closest to the center of Celestial Park. This form is likely the start of the foundation for the pathway bordering Starfall Racers. Behind the coaster building, in the extended queue area, the utility work that we have seen the last few updates has been completed and is now fully buried. There is also foundation work and walls going vertical in the extended queue area. These walls look to be lined up with pathways that wind through the backside of Starfall Racers. At the front of Celestial Park, near the Atlantic Restaurant, a new bridge frame has appeared on the right side of the restaurant, opposite to the waterfalls that meet guests as they enter Epic Universe. This bridge frame is similar to the two bridges inside of the waterfalls at the front of the park. Those bridges have seen some earthwork and landscaping completed around them. At the start of these waterfalls, at the overlook where guests can see the majority of Celestial Park, two framed columns have been installed on either side of the overlook. Outside of the How to Train Your Dragon portal, the newest project inside of Epic Universe, which is the two quick service dining locations, has had the majority of what looks like the kitchen area walled in with cinder block and a large area of waterproofing and rebar placed for a concrete pour for the front restaurant floor. The last land in Epic Universe to receive its portal plate is Super Nintendo World, which has received this plate since our last update. Inside of the Mushroom Kingdom, there are several new details that have been unveiled as well. Guests enter the Mushroom Kingdom through Peach's castle, which is seeing more detail added as the weeks pass by. Soon, scaffolding should start to cover her castle so workers can begin sculpting the facade of the castle, which is currently being completed at Bowser's Fortress. At Yoshi's Adventure, the Contour is looking mighty fine, looking over all of the Yoshi characters as if it were the ruler of the Yoshis. Behind the Contour, there is an interesting shaped hole in the wall, presumably for theming. Just after guests leave the base of Mount Beanpole, where the load station is for Yoshi's Adventure, there are several themed elements that have been recently sculpted. Behind these elements, there is a curved wall that is starting to take shape as a backdrop for this section of the ride. In the shadows of Mount Beanpole, Bowser's Fortress, which is the front for the Mario Kart ride, around the exit to this attraction, purple exterior board has been installed around the edges of this area. To the left of the entrance to Bowser's Fortress is the entrance to the interactive attraction for the land, which recently has seen scaffolding removed for the first time, revealing the block theming that we expect to see at Bowser's Fortress, as well as the snow caps at the top of the building. On the bottom level of the Mushroom Kingdom, Toad's Cafe has seen additional theming added on the side of the entrance. The courtyard at the bottom of the kingdom is beginning to see preparation for its first concrete pour of the main walkway. Reinforcing rebar is about halfway installed throughout this area. Behind the Mushroom Kingdom sits Donkey Kong Country, where a new foundation and footers has appeared alongside one of the dividing walls. This is likely an extension of the wall and a divider from the rest of Epic Universe. Alongside the tracks, near the splash area of Minecart Madness, sits the character meet and greet kiosk, where new tiered roof segments have been installed on the roof. In the corner of the land, between two large sections of coaster building, has been two newly poured golden concrete pours, one of which can be seen being finished as these aerials were taken. A little further down the coaster building, a new steel frame has been erected along the coaster tracks. This frame is in a section of the coaster that is likely to jump over something. At the top of the lift hill building, scaffolding was installed last update in front of the golden frame, where the character head will be located. Looking closer through the scaffolding, we can start to make out some of the character head progress being made. The last land to check in on this update is the far land of How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Burk, where we have seen some new residents to the land move in. On the back side of the entry portal, painting continues along the rockwork. Inside of the lagoon that meets guests as they enter the land, masts have been added to the third ship inside of the lagoon. In recent weeks, Viking Training Camp, which is the kids' play area of the How to Train Your Dragon land, has seen a lot of foundation and floor work occur. The second pour has happened in the first areas of this play area. Large square holes can be seen throughout this pour, which are the footers for the yet to be installed sections of playground. Near Dragon Racer's Rally, more sheep can be seen staged along the perimeter of this ride, similar to the sheeps found inside of the tracks of Hiccup's Wing Glider. Speaking of Hiccup's Wing Glider, this coaster has seen the most theming added throughout Epic Universe this update. Inside of the first launch, we can see a figure underneath yellow tarps, which, looking at the shape, appears to be toothless. Near the gears on the other side of the track is an animatronic, which looks to be Hiccup. These two characters are facing each other, assuming will be also in conversation before guests are launched down the track. Inside of the second launch of this coaster, there have been dragon eggs added throughout the rockwork of this launch. Just after this launch, where the coaster flies through the grandstands, dragons have moved into several of the dragon houses, one being at the entrance to the grandstands, and two later on, with one poking his head out through the scaffolding. At the center of the Isle of Burk sits Mead Hall, where scaffolding has been consistently removed on the mountain as workers finish painting. High above Mead Hall sits Gothi's hut, where the attention to detail is absolutely breathtaking. Guests may not be able to see in detail in person from the ground, but we can appreciate the detail with these close-up views. At the base of Mead Hall sits Fire Drill, where several trees have been planted inside of the queue area. Work continues inside of the queue area on the framing as well. Inside of the service channel, we can see 3 fully uncovered and themed boats that guests will ride on, putting out fires accidentally set by dragons. Just outside of Fire Drill Lagoon, Spitfire Grill has seen several new details added along the tower, as well as the sign, now covered in scrims. This is presumably for painting that is actively happening. As we exit the Isle of Burk and Celestial Park, we move on to the last section of the park to check in on, which is the entrance area to Epic Universe. On either side of the Cronus Tower, the rockwork is progressing as well. The rockwork on the right side of the entrance to Epic Universe is significantly larger and farther along compared to the left side. Just above the bus and rideshare loop, we can see a pathway forming into a large circular courtyard inside of the trees that were planted in the last couple of weeks. And with that last aerial, that wraps up this week's Universal Epic Universe Construction Update. Thanks again to BioReconstruct for the amazing aerial views, and don't forget to subscribe so you do not miss the next Universal Epic Universe Construction Update. Until next time, travelers, have a great one.